I wanted to go over with you on this video a real quick summary of some of the advancements that Dr. Jensen and I use when we are taking care of your teeth that allow us to preserve more of your natural tooth than ever before. The strong part of the tooth underneath the enamel is called dentin, and this is where most of the strength and resistance to breaking comes from with our teeth. It used to be that this is what it looked like for root canal accesses. We need to get into this area to clean out the infection, so old diagrams would show this opening in the top of the tooth so that we can get our instruments into these very fine canals and clean them out. When I look at this diagram now, and this is from a brochure that I used to pass out in my office, this makes me cringe because this just looks like a lot of tooth to take away in order to get this job done. This is now what it looks like when we do root canals. Instead of going straight up from here, this area that we call the pulp horn, we want to make it much more constricted, and that way all of this tooth up here is preserved, and this gives more strength and we hope more longevity to this tooth. So in a tooth like this, the old style would have been to take away all of what we call the roof of this part of the tooth, but now with high magnification and flexible instruments we can leave part of that back here and work through a smaller opening and get into these fine canals quite easily with the microscopes that we use on every case. We also, with our new flexible instruments, can take advantage of decay in a tooth. This is an x-ray where this is a nerve space, and this is decay that's gone into the nerve space and was causing quite a toothache. Again, old style would have been to make a nice big opening here, unroofing all of this. But now, with modern technology, we can use the decay to access into these areas and bend our instruments into these fine areas, and then we can preserve this part of the tooth and we can preserve this part of the tooth, which over the long haul, and we want to be about the long haul, over the long haul it can make that tooth stronger. So same thing here, where we have decay on the back side of the tooth, we can use very flexible instruments to leave all of this in place, and with our microscopes we can see into this and we can make it all the way around this curve. Back in the 90s we would take away all of this part of the tooth because we didn't have the instruments to make this happen and get our job done down here without harming the rest of the tooth. So now we can leave this in place. So when we do that, we can still do our job of cleaning the end of the root and sealing it, and we have more strength up here. This isn't easy though, and it takes more time and more discipline on our parts. So this is looking inside of a tooth, and again, with the old style of access, this would have been removed so that we could see into here. But with high magnification and very flexible instruments, that is a special type of nickel titanium which is flexible, and this nickel titanium is heat treated so that we can bend it and it has shape memory. Then we can take that to the tooth and using the decay get into these areas. If you look here, this instrument is bent quite a bit to get into this area underneath tooth that we left. And same thing here, this instrument bends into a very difficult area to get to. This is not possible without high magnification, using most of the time a microscope. It's all the time a microscope in our office. And these new instruments that allow us to get into these very complex areas. We also use our 3D imaging to see what the root shape looks like. And in this case, when we have this view, which we cannot get in a regular x-ray, we know where these canals are, and then we can make a very small opening in the top of the tooth and still get our job done. Where it used to be, we would have to make this much bigger in this dimension in order to make sure we were not missing anything. But with the new imaging, which we also have had in our office since 2009, we can be assured that we're not missing anything even though we're working through a tinier hole. Another thing we'll do sometimes is leave part of your tooth intact. Again, old style root canals, we would definitely remove this so that we can see. But with the new instruments and ability to actually make resins flow underneath this area and kind of re-strengthen this part of the tooth, we can leave what we call a truss here in the middle of a lower molar, and then when we're all done, we can bond over that, and then the x-ray looks like this, where we have this bit of tooth, and if you were to spin this tooth 90 degrees, it would look like a strut supporting the part of the tooth toward the tongue and the part of the tooth towards your cheek, and that's critical to resist fractures over the long haul. So this is what we had before, this is what we have now, and you can see there's a huge difference. And I'm really proud of the way my profession, and specifically my specialty, is reinventing itself to preserve more of what's there to begin with. And the natural tooth cannot be replaced. At best, we substitute things for it, but it's never the same. And this is important, and it's amazing to me how many times people have sat in my chair and said, okay, be careful of my brand new crown, because they're worried about, something going on with the crown. And of course we are careful with a brand new crown, but really shouldn't we be sitting in the chair and saying, hey, please preserve my natural tooth structure? Now, I know no one's going to say that, but humor me a little bit on that. That's really what we want to be about. And that's what I love about my job, is we are preserving what's there to begin with, and we are not about easy, we are about best. And it is definitely more difficult to do root canals through a small access, and it takes more advanced instrumentation and new developments and new discipline, but that is what we offer our patients every day. I hope you enjoyed this video.